No Man's Sky has had a pretty interesting journey since its inception, from its initial hype leading up to its launch, to its disappointment afterwards, and finally its eventual redemption in the 2.5 years following it. So today on this episode of History Of, I thought we'd take a look at the voyage No Man's Sky has taken. No Man's Sky was created by Hello Games, a UK-based studio which was founded by Sean Murray and Grant Duncan, along with friends David Ream and Ryan Doyle at the beginning of 2008. Before attempting to create what could be called one of the most ambitious games ever, their previous work was far more modest, creating a comparatively more simple Joe Danger series. The original concept for No Man's Sky began in 2012 while they were in the midst of working on Joe Danger 2. During this point, Sean Murray described himself as having a midlife development crisis. While the Joe Danger series was doing well, having previously worked for Criterion Games, he was conscious of the fact he didn't want to get into the habit of producing sequel after sequel, as he found was the case with Criterion and the Burnout series. Following some issues with their current publisher at the time, he decided that now was the perfect opportunity to go ahead and create a game based on an idea he'd had since he was a child, the idea of being an astronaut and the first human to explore an alien planet. Development initially started out slow, with Sean Murray setting aside 1 to 2 days to develop the engine to be used for No Man's Sky. Once the engine was complete, development of the title itself began, although only with 4 people: Sean Murray himself, Ream, Duncan and Hazel McKendrick, with the rest of the staff at Hello Games finishing development of Joe Danger 2. They'd work on the project in an entirely separate room from other members of the studio in total secret. Within this room they would plaster the walls with various sci-fi imagery, so if any of them were looking for inspiration, there was a wealth of it to call from all around them. Jump forward to 2013 and progress was gradually being made, but they were reluctant to tease or show it off to the public yet, for fear that people's expectations would be too high. Despite that, Jeff Keighley managed to convince Sean Murray to show it off at VGX of that year, with gamers impressed by the vision and what was shown. As time went on, the team working on No Man's Sky grew, eventually reaching a total of 13 members, which comparative to most games these days was an extremely small team, especially for such an ambitious project. Later in the same year, right on Christmas Eve of all days, the team faced a potential disaster when a flood at their studio threatened to completely destroy the project, ruining all their PCs, laptops, various equipment and dev kits. Thankfully they managed to recover the work they'd done so far, although it did cause Sean Murray to briefly consider cancelling it. Despite this and some obvious logistical setbacks to now overcome, they pressed onwards. Moving into 2014 and Hello Games prepared to show off the game once again, this time at E3 during Sony's conference thanks to their backing. Presenting the project as such a big event right in the middle of Sony's press conference was a big deal for the small studio and fantastic exposure. Showcasing this trailer, however, was quite the double-edged sword. It was this trailer that really drummed up the hype, allowing you to see the potential of such a game and that it was indeed possible, displaying seamless travel to various completely unique procedurally generated planets, the wildlife you could encounter, dogfights in space and more. It was also this trailer that would be referred back to in the years to come, and not necessarily for the right reasons, but we'll come back to that in a second. Over the next year we'd see more of No Man's Sky at various events and get to know more details about it from numerous interviews. On the surface, things seemed to be going well, and No Man's Sky appeared to be shaping up as expected. Towards the end of 2015, a release date of June 21st, 2016 was announced, although as the date crept up, rumours began to spread that the game was delayed, shortly confirmed to be true, with the game now releasing in August. This delay, however, didn't go down well, with many expressing their outrage. It also sadly wouldn't be the end of Sean Murray facing gamers' wrath, as when the game did finally launch for the PS4 and PC, it got a whole lot worse when players realised a lot of the promised features were seemingly absent or nowhere near as well designed as they thought, with some demanding refunds. A few of those features included the lack of online, where supposedly you could bump into other players if you happened to cross paths, watered down wildlife that was less varied and less well designed, bare planets and a barely existent end goal, ultimately looking like a mere unfinished remnant of the awe-inspiring footage we saw in 2014. While people's anger was understandable, a number of individuals took it way too far, with Sean Murray describing the ordeal as bad as things can get during an interview with The Guardian last year, detailing that he would routinely receive death threats as well as bomb threats sent to the studio and harassment of various employees at Hello Games. During this hard period, Sean and the team remained radio silent, but behind the scenes, they went back to work on improving the game in aspects where the community felt they failed, and just a few months later in November, they released the Foundation update. This introduced a number of improvements, with the likes of a welcome, fully fleshed out base building mechanic, as well as new modes in the form of normal, creative and survival, allowing you some control in how you experience the game. While this update didn't rectify many of its problems, it was a step in the right direction and the first real update of many to come. The second update, titled Pathfinder, released in March of the following year and added the ability to share your bases with others, a permadeath mode, and a number of exocrafts to explore planets in whole new ways. The third update, Atlas Rises, released in August of 2017, offering up a graphical overhaul, a new, more fleshed out story to delve into, and various quality of life improvements that further streamline the experience. Update number 4, simply called Next, hit July of 2018 and finally brought with it online multiplayer that many had sought for so long, allowing 4 people to explore planets together. It also brought a third-person mode, more freedom on where you can build bases, not to mention, finally saw the game make its way onto the Xbox One. The 5th title update, called The Abyss, launched in October of last year, really improving the underwater biome, with more plant life, creatures, ways to build underwater, a submarine, as well as additional story missions. The last main update to release came in November of 2018 and was called Visions, that included new biomes, creatures, and various graphical additions that further added variety to each planet. The next update is due in the middle of this year and is called Beyond, which aims to further improve upon the online component, as well as introduce a long overdue VR mode. No Man's Sky is absolutely perfect for VR, and so far, impressions of it have been pretty positive. So that sums up No Man's Sky from start to finish. I think it's an understatement to say it's had plenty of ups and downs, but it's great to see that it's not only reached the point Sean Murray and Hello Games originally promised, but far exceeded it. Comparing the game from launch to now really is a complete night and day difference, and with the VR inclusion right around the corner, things can only continue to get better for the title in the future. That's it for today. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, subscribe and hit the bell icon for a notification each time a video goes live. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.